All right, welcome back, everybody. Some people seem to enjoy the last content I made where I made a little PowerPoint. This one's going to be more focused around three team comps I played in gold and plat to get me into emerald. I'm having pretty good success in emerald right now too, so I'm hoping by the end of the holidays I'll be in diamond. That's normally where I land. But these are some really good comps, I think, for like people that are just kind of struggling to find their way. Good comps I find are sometimes uncontested, even though sometimes they are, and things that you can navigate your way into. So we'll talk about them really quickly. It's going to be a quick video, so stick with me here. So Black Rose Dominators, this is like one of my favorite. I climbed a lot in plat with this one especially. This is like right after the patch where they kind of nerfed Black Rose. Now sometimes you'll see people still go into this. The opener for me for this is going to be a Dominator or a Black Rose Crest. And if I'm getting a lot of Vlads early, if I get an opener with Vlad and Morgana, then I'm like, okay, like I'm seeing something here. Early Cassiopeia off the carousel, or even if I get one like really lucky, if you get like a lucky Cassiopeia dropper at the beginning of the game as well, you got your loot. Definitely think about it. Really strong openers. You got your Vlad, your Morgana, Zyra for the double sorcerer. She's going to be your item holder because she actually does CC and it's a fair amount of damage, right? So you put it on Zyra, let her cook with it. Hopefully she's 2-starred, and then you start doing like swaps mid game, and you'll see the end game board. But Amumu's your other watcher. You don't really need anyone else. He's cheap. He's efficient. You can 2-star him usually pretty easily. So this will be your opener, right? So you want this if you have an emblem, lots of Vlad and Morg, or you have AP or tank items. I can't stress enough about how important your items are to decide what your early game comp is. Like, you're not always guaranteed Pandora's box. And even if you are, it's kind of a wasted augment unless you really need specific stuff. So I would definitely look at my items and be like, okay, what's the game giving me and what should I try to angle towards? Like, if you're trying to play an AP line, you got 80 items, like you're going to have a bad time, right? So this is a good starting board. That's an opener. I know a lot of people don't really talk about openers, but I consider that as my opener. Your late game board's going to look a little something like this, but this can be changed multiple ways. So what I like about this comp is you can mix and match a lot of things. I like to play with Black Rose 5, although there's a lot of people and the guides will show you Black Rose 3. If I get lucky and I hit a Scion, or if I get a Black Rose emblem, I'll make the swaps. But this has a lot of plug and play potential. So you can play less Black Rose. You'd swap in Blitz. You'd swap out Blitz for Mord. You want this stronger Dominator, obviously. And then you would swap out Morg for Victor. So if you want to play just 3 Black Rose, you get rid, or 4 Black Rose if you had an emblem, you get rid of Morgana for Victor. Victor's really good in this comp. That CC really lets Silco pop off. This is an example position. You could be on this side. The reason why I huddled these 3 together is that I like to have my Silco blocked a little bit. I don't like him being by himself. So if you fight like a Nocturne, or more often than not, you get a family comp and someone's playing Violet, they can come down. They can, if they break your backline unit position for that unit, they'll just stomp out your Victor. So I like to bubble him a little bit, and I usually like to surround him. Silco's your primary carry. These are probably the best Silco items like across most sites I've looked at. If you're not like wanting to play Silco, you want to mix up a little bit, Ziggs can actually play with these exact items. Is extremely strong. It's just a fun way to swap it up if you're going to board. The reason why I put Vladimir in this corner and not this corner is because if these units were over here for positioning, I'd move Vlad over. The Ionic Spark on LeBlanc, you obviously don't want 2 shreds. I did this in an example, right? So if you have Ionic Spark, or sorry, Stag Shiv, you're going to hit a lot of people anyway. You don't have to worry about a Ionic Spark. But if you have an Ionic Spark, you want that to be on the same side as your AP carries. So if you have like all these units, or sorry, Vlad's over here, they're not benefiting from the fact that your AP debuff is right in front of them. So you always put your biggest tank, and if you have to use an APD or debuff up front for the shred, you want to put that in front of your AP carries as well. This comp, extremely strong, does really well. I suggest you try it if you haven't already. Just on Sentinels, this one's, I had a lot of success in plat with this. It can be contested. There's enough Tristans to go around, but you really have to be scouting early and making sure you have a good jump on it. It's going to be a 2-cost reroll strategy. Really works out good if you get a Tristan opener and you have 80 items, right? So this is a very stable early game board. You want to get your Aurelia 2 ideally. Urgot 1 is just a slam for the artillerist buff. Tristana, these are pretty much her early game bis items, is a Rage Blade and your crit. And Singed, he's your second Sentinel early game because Singed has a buff where when he shields himself, or he does like his little mechanic, he'll throw back a buff to whoever's doing the most damage that game, and he'll give them attack speed. So Singed usually gets slept on as an early game person to have on your board, but if you're playing like anything with 2 Sentinel synergies, I'd almost always cut in Singed if I had to set up backline carry, because that attack speed buff he's throwing backwards could definitely help you win out the round and save some more HP in the long run, right? Once again, not too many notes here. It's just the 80 opener, just on opener, 2-cost reroll strategy. This is a stable board. I'd start this with, if I had a crest, all the shimmers. I know people play Gold Collector on Tristana. It's pretty effective. Piercing Lotus is really good. Pandora's Bench, kind of like a gift and a curse. Like, you can either get really lucky and put some units on there and let them reroll and get whatever you want. Caretaker's Alley is really good if you get Tristana right. Mace's Will and Spear's Will are also both going to give this team a lot of buffs. You're going to get crit. Spear's Will, I believe, gives you mana as well. And Mace's Will, same kind of deal. Late game board is going to look something like this. I put these two units in the corner. Normally, you would not have Singed at this point. People would play Rumble, but if you're not hitting Rumble, play your Singed. You want these 6 Sentinels. It's going to say 7 because there's currently one on the board. This right here is your comp, though. You got Ezreal, Tristana, and then all your tanks with Rumble instead of Singed. That'd be your late game board. I put these two in here because sometimes, like, you get the 3 Rebel synergy, but sometimes, like, you're hitting Corkis and you're stuck with, like, a Ezreal and he's not really popping off. You can actually swap out Corki and Rumble for Singed and get a little scrap bonus. If you have, like, one component left over at the end of the game, you could throw it on either one and just give them a little buff. I've done that before. I've had success with it. It's not necessarily recommended. I think you want the 3 Rebels, but, like, if you're not hitting Ezreals and you seem to see a couple Corkis and you got lucky with a Rumble, feel free to swap that out. You can use Gunblade over Giant Slayer. I prefer Giant Slayer, but I've seen a lot of people running Gunblade just for a little bit of heals. I think Tristana being able to chew through a tank late game is extremely powerful. The reason why you don't see a lot of people putting Giant's Blades out early game is the early game tempo of it's, like, really weak. Like, it just doesn't perform really well early game, but late game when boards are more capped out, it's a lot stronger of an item. So if it's one of the last ones I'll build Giant Slayer. But if I only get left with, like, a BF sword and a rod, right, then obviously build yourself a Gunblade. Rumble and Cork are potential swaps, as we talked about. This is another, like, once again, it's a 2-cost reroll strategy. So you're going to be hanging over at level 6 for a while, trying to get as many Tristanas as possible. If you're at, like, 8 out of 9 and no one else is playing Tristana, you can go to level 7 to just kind of pump your board a little bit more and just try to roll down above 50 gold to hit your last Tristana. 2-cost reroll. I do have a guide on that if you want to go look at through my page. There's an actual guide where I broke down the different reroll strategies the best I could. So that's going to be our Tristana Sentinels comp. I had great success with this. If it's not contested, I even play this right now in Emerald. It's helping me push my way to Diamond, so lots of fun there. Gangplank Conquerors, I threw this one in because not a lot of people play this, and this is absolutely probably the most fun I have playing any comp. Conquer Crest and Crown is obviously an ideal opener. If you don't have that, I've still hit this late game and still had the early game streak to, like, still cap out late game. So early GP or Swain, have by 2-5. If you're not seeing a GP or a Swain by 2-5 and you don't have a Rel and you're just running around Darius and Draven, you're probably not going to have a good time with this comp. Like, you really want those 4 Conquerors out as soon as possible. So if I see, like, a Swain drop really early and I have a Draven and a Darius, I'm like, okay, I'm in a really good spot. I might even roll a little bit of my early game gold once I'm, like, level 4 or 5 to try to pick up a really fast Rel. Almost every leveling guide would say you don't roll your gold, but sometimes I'm really trying to greed it. But the faster you get all of them out, you pair them off. As long as you have some decent items out, you're going to be killing people. You're going to be getting those buffs coming in. This comp feels really bad when they're all 1-starred, so definitely look at your pairs, the units you start off with, your items. Darius is an item holder for Rel. Like, I like to play GP with Spirit Shojin, but you don't have to do that. I'll show you guys here in a second. Conquer Prize Fighters, where you get your items for the wins, right? Branching out, if you get stuck with silver and this is your only option, you grab it. Like, you're like, oh, okay, I got Conquer Emblem, I got some decent starting units. Should be a good game. 1, 2, 3s, same thing. Like, you can pick this right out the gate. I like to take 1, 2, 3s if all my other options are kind of bad, because you're pretty much getting 1 1-star, 2 2-stars, and 1 3-star, right? And so yeah, or you get like 1 1 1. I have to go back and look at that. But with that, you actually get some free units. So you can sell them for econ early, but you also get that 3-star champion, which sometimes will be a GP or a Swain, and it really helps you set up your tempo to get this board online. So a really strong opener. I like to play with Vlad, that 2 sorcerers. Like, so if you get a Swain on like in the second stage with like 1 tank item and he's by himself, he's really hard to kill early game. Like in the 3rd stage and 4th stage, obviously he'll die a lot more often, but for stage 2, like if you have a Swain with like an item, he's actually really hard to kill. I will often throw in Vlad to give him that sorcerer bonus as well, and that's how I'll stabilize my early board. This is my play style, and I find they're really hard to kill early, especially if you have like a rel. Even if I don't have GP, like I'll play these 4 or these 5, sorry, and I'll have like I'll streak a lot just because Swain will hold it down. I don't put items on Draven anymore. He's kind of just a lost stat. But I put my items on Darius because usually he's 2-star pretty quickly anyway, and he's gonna be holding my items for my Ambessa. Late game board looks something like this. This isn't written in stone. There's so many ways I've played my late game Conquer board. There's a new GP tech item with Rageblade and Last Whisper. I haven't done that yet, so you have Conquer Emblem, Rageblade, Last Whisper, so I can't speak to that. But it's out there. I've seen it. Like I haven't played yet, right? Jace here is going to be a really good form swapper comp. This is actually a really basic form swapper comp. I really enjoy this one, but there's other ways you can play this. Jace, the thing with Jace though is people will position him sometimes, like they'll put the crystal up here and they'll have Jace in the back. So if they're trying to shield their units up front, Jace needs to be in the front. If you had Jace in the front and you had his crystal back here, he's going to shield the units beside right adjacent. So wherever Jace is where his crystal will do that. So if he's in the back, everyone that near his crystal is going to get the attack speed adjacent. So if you put this in the front, you'd be giving your tanks or your carries up front a little bit more attack speed. So make sure that wherever you're putting your Hextech Forge is where you want that to be actually. So don't play it in the back and have this up front next to Swain. Swain with attack speed is not going to really do anything, right? So most people tuck it in the back. It's adjacent, so it doesn't have to be side by side. People in the back will benefit off it. She'll get the quick little attack speed boost, and then GP will be continuously pumped with it. Draven's just a stat bot. Spread out your tanks. They don't need to be clustered up. 330, I want to think it is when you get your 2-star 5 cost. So Rumble is usually a huge help. Mordekaiser is really good. If I get drop Jace, I'll start moving into this. If I get a LeBlanc, sometimes I'll like lean into cutting some Black Rose in instead. I'll go back and I'll find my Vlad and I'll cut in 3 Black Rose just to have like a little fun with it. I can usually top 4 this even if I have a rough start. Just a very stable comp. Play it out if you haven't. There's a loot table you can look at online. The loots for Conquer team comps do not change. It's kind of like 8-bit. I don't know if 8-bit was the same. In previous sets where there's like a loot table, it's the same thing here. What was it? Fortune. It's like Fortune from set 11. It's a set table, so you can go online, look it up, and be like, okay, Conquer loot table, and it'll tell you what you're going to be expecting every interval. Slime rewards on Morden Rumble. Mordekaiser obviously is huge. If you have carry items for him, you're never really going to have more than just these 3 items. I'd recommend this on him. You don't have to have the Warmogs, but Sunfire and Redemption is really strong on Swain. You're not going to have many more items than this normally, so I wouldn't have items from Mord or Rumble left over because usually they're coming onto my board late. So that's when I take the rewards from the Conqueror cash outs and I put them on them. Usually you get like artifacts, you can get Thieves Gloves. There's so many things you can get that'll help your team comp out. So keep that in your guys' back pocket. Lots of fun to play. If you get the start for it, no, you're not being contested. Once again, Scout, if you got 3 people playing family, you're probably going to have a hard time hitting some of these units. But if you look and everyone's going freaking the new flavor of the week, and this is left completely open, definitely consider it. Anomalies is something a lot of people don't talk about. GP, Eagle Eye, so you get that 1+ range. So if you have him tucked into corner cut and hidden, every 2 seconds that the champion doesn't move, he'll gain 6% attack damage. Absolutely a monster on GP3. Call of the Week is probably my favorite. I usually have pretty good success fishing it out, but you gain up to 100% critical strike chance based on target's missing health. Every 3 seconds, target the lowest percent health enemy in range. He pumps with Call of the Week. Call of the Week is really good on a lot of AD carries. So for the Tristana line, Headhunter, the champion gains 15% attack speed every 1 kill. They permanently gain 1% more, doubled in Hyper Roll, but we're not playing that. And also Call of the Week, both really good. These aren't like the absolute like metas must have, but these are the 2 I'd be looking for on these 2 champions. There's so many anomalies out there that you can play around. Like I played Tristana with like the 3 wolves one, where she had like 3 little 80 wolves behind her. Like you can play some pretty funny comps. These are the ones I'd recommend if I saw them right out the gate. And then the Soko line with the Dominators, nothing wasted is massive. When ally dies, you get 100% of their current mana. That's huge. And Comeback Story is probably my favorite to have on the Soko line. Is you gain 5% damage amp for every 10 player health you have lost this game. I find when I'm playing Dominators, Soko is usually coming on really late, and my team comp's already suffering at like 30, 40 HP by the time I get everyone out. So having that comeback story on your main AP carry is going to be an absolute punishing unit. So this is a basic quick video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give the old thumbs up or thumbs down. If you want more content like this, I just wanted to go show 3 comps I played in Plat that I had a lot of fun with. I still play them in Emerald. It's all about like kind of scouting to see if I'm contested early. If you enjoyed this, give the old thumbs up, thumbs down. If you didn't, please consider subscribing. Helps out the channel with the algorithm. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.